So I haven't released a video in a few weeks because I got preoccupied with Tales of Arise. So today we're going over handlers in Ansible, so step into my office. So handlers in Ansible, what are they, right? What do they do? So I'm on the main documentation page for handlers within Ansible, and it says handlers running operations on change. So in a way, they're kind of like conditionals, right? So they're a little less flexible and you can't do as much as you could with conditionals, but what they do is they say sometimes you want a task to run only when a change is made on the machine. For example, you may want to restart a service if a task updates the configuration of a service, right? So say down here they have an example of a handler example, verify Apache. So they are installing Apache and they're dropping a config file here in a directory, right? And then they have this notify argument here on the task that will then match up to a name of a handler in the handler section. And basically what you're doing with handlers is you're assigning a handler notification argument to a task. And if that task comes out changed instead of okay, then the subsequent handler that is passed to that task will then be executed at the end of the playbook run, right? So here's that example, right? You've got notify argument, the name of the handler we want to run in the event this task ends up changed, and then down here a handler section with that subsequent argument, restart Apache, that is called out up here. All right, so if the file changes, restart the service. If it doesn't change, if Ansible doesn't notice a change, we don't have to restart the service. It's time and resources wasted. Let's not do it, right? Controlling when handlers run. By default, we run handlers after all the tasks of a particular play have been completed, right? So if we go back up to the example, we can see that right here in the middle of the playbook, this task has the notify. So if this changes, it's not going to immediately stop, not go to this task, and then apply this handler. No, it is going to notice that, yes, there was a change. It's going to log that away in memory somewhere. It's going to run the rest of the tasks within the play. And then when it hits the last task in the play, then it will begin to run handlers, right? So first it runs all the tasks in a particular play, and then it applies any handlers that need to be applied afterwards. So if we go back to the example that we have been using throughout all these videos I've been doing, right? I've been using this Nginx deployment playbook that we built for most of the things we're doing. And that's because it's a really good playbook and it fits a lot of situations. So we're kind of doing something similar to the Apache example in the documentation, right? We're placing index.html and a site's enable. We're placing these files onto the host system somewhere, and then we're restarting Nginx so those files can then take effect, right? So we can actually create a handler here. We can create a notify argument, and then we need whatever we're going to name our handler, right? So if I want to name this Nginx restart, right? So now I'm telling Ansible, hey, if a new file is applied and that you notice that this task has created a change, notify and run the Nginx restart handler task. So I'm going to create a handler section down here, and that is going to be handlers. All right, let me actually make that look cleaner. And then the name of my handler is actually going to be, it's going to match the notify argument within the task that I want to apply the handler to. So it's going to be Nginx restart, right? When Ansible distribution is Red Hat, because you remember we went over conditionals in another video. And I don't have Red Hat installed on the system I'm going to run this against, so I'm going to delete the conditional here. Oh, yep, that's all I want. Okay, and let's just check the documentation, make sure we're getting the syntax right here. Handlers, the tasks, yada yada yada. All right, cool. All right, so now that I've got the handler section created and I've created the notify argument within the task I wish to run the handler with, in the event that there's a change, I'm going to go ahead and run the playbook. So I'm going to do an Ansible -playbook. We're going to do an I. We're going to pass the inventory that we want to run this against in. In my case, it can be inventory.yaml, because you can see I have two different inventories over here if you remember from other videos. Actually, one of the index.html that we're going to apply has a variable in it. So I need that variable defined. It's already defined in this inventory file here. I'm going to pass -k for my pseudo user. I need to pass the name of the playbooks, and then capital K for the pseudo password to be prompted. And so now it's going to run the quick little Nginx deployment playbook. And because this has already been applied before, we're not going to see a change. It should be okay, okay, okay all the way through, right? And we shouldn't see the handler section get run. Install Nginx. Cool. So all okay. So obviously handler is not going to run. So now if I go ahead and I make a change, so we'll change one of these templates that we place here, index.html, right? Title, test. We'll just put an extra string in here somewhere, right? Then we will go ahead and run this playbook again. And now we should see a change, which means we should see the handler task get run as well. See, and now we have index.html has changed. And now we can see we have a running handler task that gets run Nginx restart, and Nginx gets restarted. So everyone, that's a quick introduction to handlers, and it's really simple. There's not much to handlers. You may also notice when you create role directory roles by default with the Ansible Galaxy command, and it rolls, right? One of the default directories over here that's created is actually handlers. So you can place your handlers inside there, and it's applied the same way it would be within this playbook that we just did right here.